You know, we often share insight and inspiration from women that we know and admire, but with Father's Day coming up, we're turning the spotlight on the guys. CDO5 relationship coach Dr. Matt Townsend is here with 4 life lessons he learned from the men in his life. This is a unique angle.
Weird.
I mean, we've had so many conversations over the last 10 years, but we've never really talked about the men who've influenced you and why.
It's funny. It's a weird thing. I think it's because I was raised by 4 women.
That
right?
Makes sense.
So the men, but what I realized is the men played a different role in my life. They weren't necessarily in the home, but they were kind of the scaffolding around my life that held it up.
And as I look at these banner lessons that you've gleaned from these awesome guys, awesome men in your life, they're lessons we can all take away. And I think it underscores the importance that fathers and men have. They play a different role.
Men matter, totally. And today especially, because I think a lot of men don't know where they fit. Like, where do I fit in here? I mean, because my wife outthinks me, she outsmarts me, she does everything. Does she need me? And then a lot of wives would be like, not really. So part of it is that men matter. And I think for Father's Day, let's make sure we go tell them the lesson that they taught us. If you want men to step up, they need to know what's working and where it's working well.
One way it is working, it worked for your life, it's working in a lot of other homes and families I know, is that men have a unique way of helping others, helping women, but helping others see their potential and believing in what they can do.
Oh, yeah. So I had a guy named Bart Summers. He was kind of my youth leader. But when my parents separated and divorced, I was just kind of the Townsend kid that was just basically didn't have a dad in the home. So Bart kind of stepped in. He was my surrogate father. He took me to New York. He had a sister on Broadway. I went driving in Brooklyn, or the Bronx, in a black Jaguar with him, risked my life. Had tons of experiences, but one thing is he was educated at NYU, and he basically instilled in me this idea that I could go to college. See, I had never seen it really in my life. I didn't know that I was one that would go to college. My parents didn't go to college. But he's like, oh no, yeah, you can.
And look what you've done, Dr. Townsend.
Can you believe it?
That's awesome.
But he just drilled in my head that I can do anything I want to do. I can be a dad, I can be a family man.
Was he verbally saying that, or was it more by example?
You know what he did? He was just always there. Like, I'd come home from like work or somewhere, and he'd be there talking to my mom. I'm like, what are you guys talking for? And I ended up working for him as well. He had a putting green in his backyard, so my wife Marty, and I would go putt around in his backyard. He'd make bets with us. If we could make a putt, he'd take us to dinner. But the entire time, he's just reassuring me, helping me find out what my strengths are, and then leading me gently toward the strengths. It was time that gave me the power, and it was also constantly focusing on what I could do, where I would naturally focus on what I couldn't.
Playing out the positives and investing the time.
Bart Summers saved my life.
Men have a way of lightening up any stressful situation, making you laugh, making you see kind of the higher perspective of it all. Who did that for you?
My dad, Martin Townsend, and nobody hardly ever hears about my dad.
We don't talk about your dad.
But there's some good-looking pictures of him here. But he is that's him in the middle with the gray hair. But he really has the best sense of humor in the world.
Is that where you got your kicks?
Totally. And I used to watch him. He owned a sign company, and I would watch him take away the stress of like a sale gone wrong or something happening. And I remember him just utilizing his humor to soften the moment and to turn something that was tense into something just magical.
That's a gift.
It's a total gift. And I realize now, I learned it from him, and I realize it's probably what differentiates me in the marriage world, because if we can make it a little lighter, then people can relax and let the humor in.
Things are naturally heavy. Life is naturally heavy, and you do have a gift that way, and it's nice to know where that came from.
I mean, I've been arrested a couple times for it, but it comes from my dad, so it's his fault.
I love it. I love it. There's another story, another life lesson that opened your mind rather to the value of learning.
Smartest guy in the world, Michael Priest. He's my father-in-law. Smartest man ever. Like, seriously. Never missed a beat, corrects my grammar. There he is, apparently a rough night. And but he's the neatest learning man I've ever seen. Everything about him is learning. He's written 3,000 pages of books.
Wow.
He's an editor. One of the coolest things, though, he was a surgeon or a cardiologist, and while he was doing procedures, he had a woman that could only speak Spanish. He'd only let her speak Spanish. She's bilingual, and he made his nurse speak Spanish to him, and over the years, he ended up learning Spanish Spanish. So what he taught me is life without learning is lifeless. And to this day, he's learned to be an incredible cook. He's learned to do woodwork. He's learned to do all these things he's ever wanted to learn. He put his mind to it, and he learned and he learned and he learned. And when we're learning, then living and loving and leading is just so much more worth
That's
it.
Powerful.
And he taught me that. Cool lesson.
Speaking of loving, there's another man in your life that taught you a lot about love.
I love Ralph. Ralphie Smart. Cute little Ralphie.
You know what? I always wanted to meet him.
98 years old, I think, when he died. 99 when he died. Neatest man on earth. He's obviously the one on the left, and Barbara's on the right, and my wife's in the middle. But Ralph taught me, he worked at the prison too. He ran the garden at the prison. And what he taught me is, he says, love basically is not about, it's not about a feeling, it's about a verb. You want more love, then you serve more, period. He fell in love with the people at the prison. He fell in love with his wife. And even when his wife couldn't love him fully, he could still serve her fully. And the more he served her, the more he loved her. When she finally died, I remember him aching to serve her, but she was gone. And for years, he had to wait for him to die before he could get out. And he always felt love for her, but he wanted to get back with her where he could serve her.
Sure.
Serving and loving, taught to me by a man. Amazing man.
It's a great love story.
Pretty cool.
You've talked about him many times.
I love that guy.
I wish I would have had the chance to meet him.
He's incredible.
What a great coupleship. Well, all of those people have made you the incredible guy you are.
Yeah, men making men. So make sure everybody goes out and find the men, find the stories, and go tell them. Tell them what a difference they made if you want them to keep making differences. They got to know it.
Love it, Matt.
Thanks,
How's
Brooklyn.
the Coach with Matt program going?
Killing it. We're starting soon. We've got about another 15 starting, and it's the coolest thing in the world, because if you've ever felt like people come to you to know the truth, to learn about relationships, or to have questions answered, come take the training. Just call our office. Go to coachwithmatt.com, and cool stuff. We're changing the world.
You are, really, though. It's neat to see what you're doing.
Thanks to everybody.
So, thank you so much.
Thanks, Brooke.
All right. Well,